The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio. Keep your mission on your mind and your mind on your mission. This is Mission Minded with Michael Coleman and Tony Kurre.
Oh, and away we go here on a Tuesday edition of Mission Minded. Keep in mind your mission your mind. We have a very special guest filling in for Michael Coleman tonight, Justin Brown. We go way back, and we'll talk to him in just a second. But first, let's bow our heads, say a quick prayer in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Lord Jesus, thank you so much for this wonderful day you've given us. Every day I do this show at 5 o'clock as we're wrapping up the end of the day, and I'm always so blessed and so encouraged by your grace and by your glory and by all the wonderful things that you bless me with every single day. Got to remember, all of us out there, that everything you do for us is part of your big plan. Your plan is perfect, so we know that it is all good. And we also realize that even when it hurts a little bit, we struggle a little bit, we have some tragedy in our life, we realize that that can be a blessing, and it is a blessing. Again, in your name, I want to thank you for bringing Justin Brown into my life, and I want you to thank him for coming on to the show tonight and filling in and being a big part of the success of the show. Please place the right words in my mouth and make sure they're compassionate and make sure they're authentic and make sure they're real. In your name, we pray. Amen. All right. Justin, what's going on, brother? How are you? Let me just talk in your microphone. I'll make sure I can hear you okay.
I am good, Tony. Can you hear me fine?
You sound great. You sound fantastic.
Right.
The velvety voice of Justin Brown joins us here. Justin works over at the DJC. What are your hours over there?
I'm on the air from 10 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon, 6 days a week.
So you're doing that 4-hour thing. That's not bad.
Midday.
Okay. Yeah. They call it midday. Did you work? Have you always worked middays over at DJC?
No, I started there in 2003 and was hired to do afternoons. And on my first day of work, the program director, Dave Mack, said, "You see that little girl in that production room over there?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I'm thinking about teaming you up with her."
Wow.
And I'm like, all right, that could mean
on the
never.
air?
That could mean a year down the road.
Yeah.
So a week later, she comes bebopping in the studio with a stack of a foot high of magazines. And I said, "Can I help you?" And she said, "Did they not tell you I'm your partner and I start today?" And I'm like,
wow.
"No." Have a seat. Her name was Carrie Cates, and we did the show together in the afternoon for 5 years.
Wow.
Before she left. And then I did it solo for 5 years. And when Ronnie Bruce retired, they moved me into his time slot, middays, and took over doing the music director duties. So I've been doing that for 13 years or so. So this July will be 23 years at the same radio station.
That's crazy. We have an old saying in radio, we're in the communication business, and the one thing we're the worst at is communication. We don't communicate. So it does not surprise me at all that you had a partner coming in during middays or afternoons. You had no clue. It's just amazing how that is. So I got here in 88. So that's 12. So we're looking at, but this is my 37th year here in Birmingham. When did you start radio in Birmingham?
I started in Birmingham because of you. Mm-hmm. In 1996.
1996. So we're looking at 30 years. You're 30 years. So we got 60.
I called you for help, and so I wanted to publicly let it be known that I give you credit for the fact that I
or you blame me
in Birmingham radio. I'm at the campus radio station. I graduated high school the same year you started in Birmingham, so I'd already been a fan of yours for a couple of years.
Oh, nice.
I got a job in Oxford at K98, and I'm doing weekends, and I call you while I'm on the air. You were doing 6 days a week, a Saturday shift, so I thought it was a big deal for me to be on the air and call my radio hero on the air, and I let it ring on the rock and roll lines about 100 times. Before you answer the phone. And I'm like, "Hey, Tony." It's kind of like the whole Saturday Night Live skit of talking to your hero and going, I'm on the radio too, and I'm a big fan, and I think this is cool, and what do I need to do to get to Birmingham? And in Tony Curry's infinite wisdom, he's like, "Get to a bigger station, call me back."
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward a couple of years, I get to the mighty Q104 100,000 watt station in Gadsden. That's now the Q in Birmingham. 100,000 watts, the biggest that the FCC will allow. I call up, pretty full of myself, once again, to the infamous Tony Kurre. I'm at the biggest station I can get to. Now what do I need to do? Well, come over to Birmingham and bring a tape and resume, and we'll see what we can do. And so you fast forward probably about 3 more years, I get a job at Magic 96, and we become roomies.
Yeah,
So
we actually lived together. That was a crazy time because I was going through. I think I was in a relationship or something, and I was making some good money, and I just didn't want to live alone. And that's when I think our rent was $450 a month, maybe. I don't know. You paid the rent. I always paid you late, so you know more about the rent and everything. But I want to say it was like $450 a month for rent. This was in the '90s. My goodness, that would just be, I'd live in something else. Right now for $450, you can't be homeless. But that was a fantastic time. So I'm saying we got 67 years of radio experience just in this town. I was doing radio obviously since I was 12, so I was 1978 when I got started. But I don't think we've ever done a show together, have we?
Never.
I mean, you stopped by and done some radio, and you stopped in the studio. We'd josh around with each other and stuff. And I
we worked at the same radio station together. I was running John Boyd and Billy, and you were doing Afternoon Drive at Rock 99. But this is the very first time that we've ever been on the same show together.
What in the world was I thinking? Why did it take so long? And then in a very strange turn of events, I helped you get that job in Birmingham, and then you helped me get the job here. So I just realized that how that came full circle, and so I thank you for opening a door for me. And I know you had a lot to do with the fact that Crawford would hire a good old Catholic to be on their radio station. My partner Michael Coleman, who also wrote a pretty nice email to Mr. Larson up there in Chicago, and that kind of closed the deal. I just listen. I just I had a calling, right, and I went to church and I was talking to Deacon Bob, who I saw this morning at church. I got a 7:45 mass on Tuesday. I read a lecture there. I had some other things to talk to him about. And I told him, I said, man, I just want more. I just want more. And I went through this a couple of years ago, but I said, I want to use my gifts and whatever it takes. I want to do more. And he goes, well, what do you like to do? And I said, well, all I know is radio. I said, I could change oil on a car. I could work at a Walmart. I could do those things, but and I could probably do some sales. But I said, I just really love radio. I've always done radio since I was 12. I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken. I worked at a Money Room once. I worked in an amusement park. But the job I've always loved and had my entire life is radio, and quite frankly, I'm lazy because I'm used to working 4 to 6 hours a day. But we also worked on Saturdays, so we ended up putting our 40 hours in for sure. People were like, I remember when we got automation, man, we had Saturdays off. It was like we had to take a vacation day to take a Saturday off. So when we went automated, we didn't have to be there on weekends. It was like getting 52 more vacation days a year.
Right. I
mean, it was like getting 12. It was crazy. I remember thinking, my gosh, I don't have to be at the radio station on Saturdays. It just changed my life. Anyway, it's just bizarre that we come full circle, and now we're actually working together in the same thing. I had that thought a couple of years ago to get back somehow, and then several months ago, like I said, I was talking to my Deacon Bob, and he said, you got this voice that God has graced you with. And you love radio. Is there any way you can do something for Jesus through radio? And I said, there's a radio station in town, DJC. I wasn't even aware of XJC. I knew it was formerly The Source and Wide and all that other stuff. But, and so when I did a little homework and I went up and visited you one afternoon and knew it was 100,000 watts, it's a huge stick. And I thought, you know what? I'll do this as long as I can get some good hours. I know anyone out there wondering, you can buy airtime from a radio station, but it's super expensive. And and they don't really care about how much they charge you. Just be honest with you. It's like, hey, but I bring so much to the table. It doesn't matter. If you don't pay their price, they go, okay, well, bye. So I got a price, and I was like, can I work around this and make this happen? So I have gone from making $200,000 a year to now paying to play, as they say in the business, paying to play. But I was drawn to that, and I thought, wow, this is a great opportunity. And it's 5 to 6 in the afternoon, one of the best hours in radio. And so I get together with Michael Coleman, and next thing you know, we've been on the air for several weeks. So, but I want to thank you, and I know that now I would never have you on if you were competing against me. I'd have to whip your you-know-what. But the fact that you're middays, I can actually promote you. And, you can promote me, too, because we're in the same family of radio stations. So you can mention, hey, listen to Tony Kurre over there at XJC at 101.1. You can mention to me. You can give me some plugs.
Well, I'll give you a plug here right now and say, just piggyback on what you just said. Mm-hmm. Radio is an expensive medium to be a part of.
Yeah.
And so if you want to support what Tony Kurre is doing, the best thing that you can do is reach out to him and say that you want to sponsor this hour program.
And I'll give you my phone number. It's 542-1848. That's my personal cell phone number, 542-1848, 542-1848. You get some business. I'm on the biggest stick in the state. I'm on from 5 to 6 in the afternoons. I'd like to go to 5 to 7 eventually. But if you want to support me and support your Lord and Jesus Christ, I've got a kind of a deal with him going right now. I've prayed on this. I've got to stroke another check on Friday to stay on the air for another month. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to stay on the air. So maybe I could do a GoFundMe or something, or go.
The great thing about the signal of 101.1 is that signal reaches, I believe, the Tennessee state line.
It does.
It covers Huntsville.
Just north of Killen, Alabama, yes.
The fact that it goes like Georgia state line to Mississippi state line, and then it's also, speaking of the sister station, WDJC, it's on the HD2 channel. Mm-hmm. And so that signal covers north of Montgomery and fades out around Prattville, and it completely covers Tuscaloosa and that whole area. So the footprint of what you can be a part of if you want to be a sponsor, and Tony will do your commercials with that golden voice of his that is iconic and been a fabric. And I don't know why you weren't at the Legends Luncheon for the Alabama Broadcasters Association, but you were definitely missed there. And you need to make sure that you're a part of it next year, Tony.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think you were mentioning East. I think we almost get all the way to Douglasville. Oh, and it feels good to say we. It can be part of that we terrestrial crowd again, which is really cool. I when I've talked to several people, and obviously I've gone around to a lot of churches. I do Bible study at Valleydale, and then I go to an Episcopalian church, Church of the Advent downtown once in a while when we want to hear some bells, and then OLV is my home church, Our Lady of the Valley. And I said, man, it's like going to Bryant-Denny on a Saturday afternoon during football season.
Right.
And there's a microphone in the middle of the football field. That's what I've got right now. All I need to do is start talking and just grow it. Right now I'm trying to fill the seats. But you were playing music over here, and I could not believe that we were at a portion of radio. Listen, radio is just, we used to have, I think when I got on the air in 1978, there were 378,000 disc jockeys in the United States of America. Right now, there are just about 4,000. I mean, think about that.
I thought you were going to say 4.
Well, there is about 4. Hell, you don't even have 4 at the radio station anymore. I mean, it used to be.
We've got 4, and we're not all full time.
I mean, you used to walk into a radio station, it was like a fire ant hill, man. There were people, promotions every day, people running around, salespeople and everything else. And now you walk up and you hear crickets. That's why, we used to be 24 hours a day, 6 to 10, 10 to 2, 2 to 6, 6 to 10, 10 to 2, and 2 to 6. And, we would answer the phones 24 hours a day. You can make a request whenever you wanted. Now you call at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and no one will answer the phone. So it is what it is. Not sour grapes. It certainly has given me just a wonderful life. I have to joke. I have to laugh. I turned 60 several weeks ago, and all my friends who were in businesses with pensions and factory work or whatever, police officers and stuff, they're all retiring. And I've always had friends that were a little older than I was. And, I went through basically I lost everything in a 2-year period, went through divorce, and my job after 30-something years was gone, and got escorted out by a police officer, which was great. But lost everything. So I was so, and I get a load of this, I was so blessed that I got lost, and I got found again, but I got lost at my age because I was like 50 or 51, 52. Because if I had lost it at 60, my financial situation may have been a little different, but it's really hard to get into something when you're 60s. In my 50s, I'm like, I still got 35 years left. I could still do something. I could still be working at Jitterbugs when I'm 93 years old, if I have to do that. Unfortunately, it's not open anymore. But I thought to myself, I'm going to look at this as an opportunity to have 2 careers. I can actually have the one I just had, which was fantastic. I've been to the mountaintop. I've spoken in front of 100,000 people. I've introduced the biggest and best bands in the world, the Rolling Stones, you name it. I've done all those things. I've had the crazy nights. And now I get to have a little bit of a different lifestyle, a different career. I was talking to a friend the other day, and he's like, don't you miss going to the concerts, and don't you miss everyone knowing who you are, and don't you miss doing remotes and this, that, and the other? I said, well, I've been here for a long time, and I still think Tony Curre, the brand, it still carries some weight. I said, but back then I was look at me. We didn't have social media. We just tried to get ratings. We would show up. We'd be out 6 or 7 days a week, driving the station van around. And I said, and now I want to be a hero to my 3 kids. That's it. As long as my 3 kids think I'm cool, and they love me, and I know they do, then life is good. So all I want to do is love my Lord and Savior. I want to take care of my kids and make sure they're protected and make sure they're loved, and I want to work. Those are the 3 things I want to do. And if I could do those 3 things for another, you give me 30 years, I don't know if I'm going to make it to 90, but mid-80s maybe, that'd be kind of good. Probably be like Ozzy Osbourne.
You mentioned, Tony, the concerts. Mm-hmm. And I didn't miss out on any of that because I went to work from working with you at Rock 99 and took this job in 2003. And at the time, I was single, and my afternoon partner, we were both single, and we went to every show, and I think I might have missed 1 concert in about 5 years.
Wow.
Because the morning show is going to get up the next morning if there's a show in the middle of the week. And we were both single. We're like, we'll go. And I started hanging out and was breathing the diesel fumes of the tour bus and meeting every artist and getting all of the brand new artists would come from Nashville because the WDJC, a big deal still in the industry.
Yeah, it is.
And a player in the industry, even though that we're a large market, they consider us a major market, one of the top 25 Christian music stations in the country.
Yeah, baby.
The fact that they would bring artists down from Nashville to do an in-studio interview, I started meeting all these artists 23 years ago and became so close to them and wind up getting their phone numbers and eventually getting to their houses, not just going backstage. So this filled a hole for me that had done secular radio for 13 years, had gotten to an access to the same level of concert, of production, of musicality, of artistry, and the fact that I went from, for example, working with you, you go backstage and you get a chance to meet ZZ Top and introduce them when you're at Oak Mountain Amphitheater. And then I was at a country station, and you're in a cattle call line, and you buy your 8x10, you get in line, you get your picture made with them, you turn as they autograph it, and you go out a side door. Now I get the opportunity to know these people, and the fact that the quality of the artists is so much more rich that it's been the coolest bridge of one type of radio into another one, and I never missed out on going to the concert.
That's super cool. I actually came in your studio several weeks ago. Now it's been a couple of months, and I said, play me an equivalent of a Christian Huey Lewis song.
Yes.
And you knew exactly what I meant. You knew exactly I wanted to hear something with a hook, something that didn't have Jesus like in every refrain, but something that sounded like, wow, I didn't realize it was a Christian song. And you didn't. You played
Whatever
me something.
that you like, whatever your kid likes, there is a Christian version of it that you can feel good about letting them listen to. One of the biggest names in the industry is Forrest Frank.
Frank.
And he's a Christian. And so, like, one of the things that really, when I was leaving Rock 99, I didn't know anything about this music. I'm working out my 2-week notice, and I'm listening, and I hear Third Day. And I'm like, that is beautiful. That is like Southern rock. That is grit. That is gravel. That is soul. And Third Day, this Friday night, I'm going to be going to the concert. They're doing their 30th anniversary tour. And I talked to the lead singer, Mac Powell, and I'm like, I told him that story. I said, well, I didn't know anything about this music, but when I heard Third Day, I'm like, this is going to be okay. I'm going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And another full circle moment is going to be able to see them this coming Friday night at the Legacy Arena, and it's going to be a sold-out show.
It's going to be great. Outside, like bands like Jars of Clay, Amy Grant. I'm a huge fan of Amy Grant. Of course, I am a bigger fan of her husband, Vince Gill, who is
with the Eagles now.
Was the Eagles, and actually had an opportunity to play for Dire Straits. Was asked to play. With Dire Straits, was asked to join the band prior to the Brothers in Arms album, which was the biggest album of that decade.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Stuff, and he turned him down, and he was just getting off his pure Premier League thing, and said, I kind of want to do my own thing. Was living in Nashville, living in an attic of someone's house with no AC, no heat. And it's like, I want to give it a go. I think I got this. The next thing you know, he turned into just to be an incredible artist, and he's just, a lot of people hear his voice, the falsetto. It's just unbelievable, but his guitar playing is so stinking good. It is so amazing. So we've known each other forever. We lived together for 3 years. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to go through some of those days, but I think everyone kind of realizes two radio guys working in classic rock in the 90s. Yes, that happened. That's all I can tell you. You ask any question, did this happen? Yes, it did. More likely it happened at our place. There's nothing that we are sinners. We have redeemed ourselves. We're still sinners. We're just doing it on a different format. But yeah, so, that's true. If you got any questions, 941-1011, 941-1011, 941-1011, feel free to light up the phones. We'll take your phone calls. We'll talk about whatever you want tonight, right here in 101.1 The Truth. This is Mission Minded. Keep in mind your mission, your mind. Dallas Teague, is a young lady who joined me last week. And she's clamoring to come back on. This woman is a doctor. She's a reverend. She does all these wonderful positive messages. She's a business etiquette person. She's been in Forbes magazine. She does all these things. She's got some great pipes too. Normally, the whole thing, when you talk to a woman on the phone, they'd always say, if you meet a woman on the phone, don't ever go meet up with them, because if they sound good on the phone, they don't ever look good in person, If I can use a Beavis and Butthead reference, if you ever saw that part of the movie, don't ever do that, because it never happens. And so here's this lovely young lady. Her husband is the executive director of the BJCC, Tad, who I know really well from my days doing stuff over on Classic Rock as well as Jocks, but she looks as good as her voice sounds, and so she'll be on the show coming up tomorrow and Friday. Then we'll have Michael back in on Thursday, and we'll get some topics going and things like that. So feel free to give us a call, 941-1011. Did you have, occasionally you and I will smoke a cigar. We don't do it nearly as much as we should. Right. And I always feel bad about that, but whenever we do, we just have a great time together, and we can always reminisce and talk about our old radio days. When you got this job at DJC, was it a calling? Did something happen to you? Was there a God wink in your life that made you say this was the way to go, or was it just because the position was open and you grew into it?
I will tell you that God will use whatever your motivation is to get his purpose done. Just like a teenage boy will probably go to church to meet good-looking girl, or a single guy will go to church to try to find a nice, classy older lady to date. I fell into this job and took it because of the money.
Yeah.
And because I took the job for the money, God, and I'll have to back up a little bit, because Tony, I had been like you. I'd lost everything. I had been successful in my own world, I had been number one. I'd moved out to Texas. I was part of a 2-person show. I lived on the roof, did a crazy morning show stunt. We lived on the roof of a car dealership for 3 days in 70-mile-an-hour winds, 19 degrees. The rain turned into snow. And we went from, in layman's terms, we went from really low in the ratings to tied for first. We went from a 7.9 to a 19.1 and tied for first in the market within my first ratings period.
That's pretty good.
I'm on TV, I'm on billboards, I'm doing all the things. When you're number one and you think it's my success, my radio station, my, and then God took it all away. And I call you, and you called me one morning and you said, "Hey, are you still out of work?" I said, "Yeah, I'm out of work." And you told me about the job at Rock 99. So not only did you help me get to Birmingham the first time, you helped me get back to Birmingham, but boy, was that not just eating a slice of humble pie, I ate the whole pie.
Yeah. That job was so beneath you, but I also knew that being live, and this is before we had automation, before that we had a house full of radio people. You had 6 full-time disc jockeys.
Yep.
Right now you may have 2, probably 1, and he's probably doing 4 or 5 different radio stations. I know you do that too.
Right.
And so I knew that you were good, and I knew where your heart was, and I knew if you came on board that you'd work your way up the ladder really fast. And I had also known that there was going to be a couple people in radio land. Radio people don't make any money. We don't. We've never gotten paid well, and I'm not talking about the Rick and Bubba's there. Obviously, they're extreme. They're a totally different thing, and they deserve every dime they got. There are several people who go syndicated and make money, but if you're going into radio, you're doing it for the prestige. You're doing it for to be famous. If you think that's what that is, you're doing it to be a celebrity, and it's super cool and it's fun. Yeah, I mean, let's face it. I mean, I'm doing 4 hours of classic rock 6 days a week is not a bad gig if you can get it. And so I knew that you were gonna jut up, and I knew that was and that was years ago, man. I mean, you had so much in front of you.
And I remember one of the hardest conversations that I had in this industry came from you. And I was there for 6 months, and I was just miserable and mopey and was making no money and was driving in from Anniston to Birmingham, making no money, pushing buttons for John Boy and Billy, and I'm making coffee for 5 morning shows. I go from running 6 radio stations to making coffee for 5 morning shows. And I was complaining to you, and I'm like, this guy hasn't even put me, that's in charge of the website, on as the producer for John Boy and Billy. And I've been here for almost 6 months. He's treating me like I'm just a board op. Mm-hmm. And you told me one of the most valuable, hard lessons ever when you looked at me and you said, nobody cares who you used to be. Nobody cares where you used to work or what you used to do. You're just a board op. And so when I got the...
I hope I said that in a loving way.
No, you didn't, but I needed it. I mean, I really needed it. And it was, it was like, man, just a kick in the teeth. And I needed to be humbled.
Yeah.
And I got that. And so I get called into Susan Grove's office.
Susan Grove's, yeah.
And she said, I know about you. I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, I've asked. I should be working for you. You shouldn't be working for me. And I said, nope. I'm just a board op. And then I was turning in my notice. She said, tell me who to fire so that I can keep you. And I said, the guy that never put me on the website, fire him. She said, done, but you got to do your job and his job. If you get paid that amount of money to do one show, then do it. But I'm going to, don't sign a contract, a non-compete, and I'm going to steal you back the second that I can. And that was the moment between knowing that I needed to be humbled and also being lifted up and encouraged.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
And so,
man. What
a
great
long
story.
answer to your question. I took the job for money, even though it wasn't a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
It was still taking it for money, and it got me back into church. I wound up a year later getting baptized.
There you go.
Started my real walk with the Lord, even though I had gotten saved at the age of 8. I didn't get baptized till the age of 34, and I really had just punched my ticket to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Started living,
yeah.
and it was a gradual transformation of just learning and digging in and serving and working in the environment that I'm still in. But you asked kind of like, was it a calling? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
But
you didn't know it at the time.
I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah, that's why I said, did you grow into it? Because in life, God's got a plan for everything. His plan is perfect, and so you know that there are no coincidences in life. And when sometimes you're called to something and you go do it, and then sometimes you do it, and then you realize it was a calling. And either way, you know, it's God's glory and His. You brought up something too that I have gone through over the last 8 or 9 years. I was the biggest thing in Birmingham, period. I mean, I was in the New York Times. When I did the billboard thing and all that garbage, and I just never realized it. I just never, gosh, if we had social media back there, you and I would have been in a lot of trouble.
Right.
We would have been in a lot of trouble. If we had social media on that billboard, I would have been in a lot of trouble. I mean, it was as crazy got. And of course, I remember I got my first and only DUI in 1990. And when I walked in the radio station the following morning, I got a standing ovation. I mean, that's people. Wow. Yeah, he's arrived, and I'm like, now you get fired on the spot. I actually were like, wow, it's your first one. Congratulations. I'm like, are you guys crazy or what? I just spent the night in Atlanta jail. Are you kidding me? But that's what radio was like, and it was fun. It was a blast. We had a great time. We had some things happen on the roof of our radio station as well. But that was a good time. Speaking of good times, he's Justin Brown, by the way. He does middays over there at WDJC. I'm Tony Kurre. Same radio guy as always been. Classic rock, jocks, ESPN, you name it. Now I'm on 101.1 The Truth, WXJC. We're going to see if we can turn this thing into something special, but we're going to do it for the glory of God, period. If He wants it to happen, Lord, I'm here for you, and I'll continue to pay the bill every month. Just bring me some success and bring me some business, man, and I'll continue to talk it up. I went to the state fair with my special needs boy and my daughter, who just turned 14. She had a quote-unquote date. And I was like, oh, you in a stinking date. I said, you're not going to date anybody until I tell you to. But he's a nice kid. He said, no, sir, yes, sir. It was funny because when I walked up to get the armbands, I had cash. I had stopped and got $400 in cash from the machine, the ATM, on the way there. I'm a cash man. I don't use my cards because sometimes they mess your card up. Sometimes they'll double charge you, and then you're going to a fly-by-night carnival. You don't know what they're going to do. So I got cash, and so the armbands were $35 a piece, and so it was $140, and I give her $140, and she said, we don't take cash.
Oh, they're cashless.
We take credit card only. And I said, you won't take my cash? And she said, no, it's card only. And I'm thinking... And I said, okay. And I didn't have my card with me. I just had cash in my pocket.
Oh, no.
And her boyfriend pulled a card out and said, Mr. Kurre, will you let me take care of this? I'll take care of it. You just pay me back later. And I said, and he paid the thing, and I gave him $140 in cash. I said, you just got yourself some big points, my man. And he asked me if he could help. He didn't do it. He asked me because in a million years, I'd never let a 14-year-old pay my bill, particularly in front of my daughter, for God's sakes. I don't let my daughter pay for anything she's around. She's got a dance coming next week, and she's like, I've got my own money. I got $200. He said, honey, you ain't buying no flipping dress for yourself. I said, I got you. I said, I'll take care of it. I said, you never buy anything around me. I always take care of my baby. But anyway, we get out there, and I told the story the other day. I threw my guts up. Oh my gosh, it was horrible. And I actually got sick in the fun house of all the things. It wasn't a roller coaster. It wasn't an upside down thing. It was actually in the stinking fun house, where I started feeling queasy. I threw my guts up. My special needs son was laughing at me. And he said, Dad, he goes, this has been the best day of my life. And I said, yeah, how's that? He goes, I just love seeing you puke. I said, okay, son. And so we had just a great time, but it was set up right there at Oak Mountain Amphitheater area. And it's the first time I've been there since they bulldozed that place. And I was looking at a friend of mine, who I ran into out there, and I said, man, I feel the ghosts. I feel the ghost of Steve Ray Vaughan. I feel the ghost of Eric Clapton. I feel the ghost of Def Leppard. I feel the ghost of Robert Plant. I feel the ghost of Hart. I feel the ghost of Stevie Nicks. I feel the I said, I brought on so many bands out there when we were on the air. When we first came on the air, I hated that place because I was out there like 3-4 nights a week. There was no classic rock concerts that would come near Birmingham because we didn't have a classic rock station for 6 or 7 years. So when we came in town, Live Nation at the time was a New Era. They knew they had a radio station that was going to promote the bejeebers out of their shows. And so they started bringing everybody that had never appeared in Birmingham. We had, man, that first summer we came in town in 89, man, there was the equivalent of like a Heart, like every week there was a band coming in. It was huge. And so I was always out there doing my show, and I'd spent the night out there a couple of times. I was on stage, and it was a lot of fun. But I hurt because we didn't get an opportunity to say goodbye to that place before they tore it down.
Right.
And I wanted to ask you, and this is a question that I've had on my phone because I said, whenever I talk to Justin again, I was going to ask you, but we're on the air, so I'll do it here. Have you been out there since it was torn down? And talk about, you talk about the live experience now through your Christian music, but you did see some classic rock shows as well. Just talk about how that moves you, how the live music verve moves you, and how important it is.
Oh, goodness. I love live music. My first concert my parents took me to was Conway Twitty.
Nice.
Took me to an outdoor amphitheater pavilion, dirt floor, open air in Georgia in the middle of nowhere. And I went backstage to a little trailer, stood in line. He was my first meet and greet. He was my first.
Wow, Conway Twitty. Man,
Conway
that's cool.
Twitty I got to meet the man. I was able to get an autograph.
Nice.
Which, the two of us are big autograph hounds.
Yeah.
And we went together to Gatlinburg and wound up buying autographs and had them all over our apartment.
I still have every
too.
one of my
I've got
bought.
a man cave full of autographs that nobody ever sees.
Yeah,
And
I've got to, and I'm not ever going to get rid of them.
No, and so the music has moved me, and I've been such a fan. And, like you mentioned earlier, if you're in radio, you're not making a ton of money. There's only so many Howard Sterns that are making the big money, and the rest of us are trying to pay our bills. Yep. And you're in it for not only the fame when you first get into it, or to meet the girls, or whatever that your motivation is, but the perks, or at least what they used to be when you would get, free concert tickets and you go to any show that you wanted to, and then you're on stage, and then you can go back, and then you can meet them, and then when one day you
can't put a price tag on that, by the way.
ticket.
You cannot put a price tag on that.
No,
and when all I had to do was wink at the guy in the back gate on the left side, and I knew Delmar, I knew the whole security people. So all I had to do, man, is wink, and it didn't matter who was playing out there. They were letting me backstage. You want to talk about going far with the ladies? That works really good. It's one thing to walk into a bar with a guitar case in your hand. That works pretty well. But when you get backstage to any show you want to go to,
right,
that's pretty good. Continue.
Fast forward, I go back to Oak Mountain Amphitheater. My wife buys tickets to see John Mayer. It was one of the best shows I've ever seen. In the fall, the breeze, the air, just the temperature, it wasn't too hot. And John Mayer is like getting lost in a guitar solo, and I'm lost in it too. And I'm sitting here, and then I had that moment. I'm like, wait, I'm not going to go backstage. We paid for these tickets. I'm not going to meet him. I'm not going to get an autograph. I'm just the regular guy here.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a shock to the system happened to me in Georgia.
I mean, it does.
It's such a shock to the system, and it's like I went from being the guy, the boss at this country station, and I stick around after I got let go, and I go to a festival, and everybody that used to work for me is going backstage, and I'm sitting in a lawn chair going, "Y'all have fun. I'll be here if you need me," And
that was me at Jocks. National championship tickets, whatever I wanted, anything at the BJCC. And now that I'm doing a show with the husband or the wife of Ted, maybe I can work that angle again. That's not why she's on the show, by the way. But that
sure,
that
Tony.
That is a great connection. Come to think of it, she's going to be on probably next week. Michael, you're fired. It hurt my heart to go back there and just realize not just me, but how many people that place touched. One of my best shows I ever saw, this will blow you away, was a show that I saw about 3 years ago. So I got cleaned up about 7 years ago. I went to outpatient rehab, and did the whole 9 yards of the Bradford thing, and got cleaned up and had some rocky roads, but I've been sober for about 7 years, and I went. I had third row tickets for the Doobie Brothers, and the only reason I wanted to go was because Michael McDonald was playing with them. I love Michael McDonald. I love him solo. I love everything he's ever done. I just think he's fantastic. And so I thought this is going to be like two concerts in one. So I took a good friend of mine who was drinking, and he had a great time too. And I mean, this band, Tom Johnson's guys, they're in their 70s. And everyone around me, the average age around me, had to be in the mid-60s. It had to be in the mid-60s. And everyone stood up almost the entire time, which I could not believe. First of all, it was the Doobie Brothers, and it was a bunch of old people. And I was like, what is this? And it turned out to be one of the best concerts I have ever seen. Fast forward, I have a friend of mine that does a show on Tony Curre Radio called Dark Side of the Pooch, Dr. Rab Stewart. He is the owner of the Rossbridge Animal Hospital. He does a show with me every single week on the Tony Curre Radio podcast network. If you just look up Tony Curre podcast, you'll see there's thousands of podcasts I've done over the last 5 or 6 years. But he said, have you ever seen Fish? And I said, no. I've seen the Grateful Dead. I saw them both nights at the BJCC. That's another show for another time. But I haven't. He goes, man, and Dr. Rab goes to Vegas. He goes around the world to see Fish. He just loves them. They're a jam band. And I said, man, I would love to go. And so his wife wasn't going to go. They played 2 nights. And so he took me to the Fish concert. Of course, I went outside, the venue. That's half the fun, seeing all the dope smokers. And people were selling hemp T-shirts, and there were balloons that weren't helium, if you know what I mean. And I mean, it was great, man. Everyone was having a wonderful time. And I went in there, and I didn't know one Fish song, and that was probably top 5 show for me.
Wow.
And all I could equate it to is I was sober. I enjoyed it. I can think of a couple of shows where I know I was ripped up, and it was a really good show too. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it was just one of the. They did a couple of Zeppelin songs. Fish did, and I just thought to myself, and I was, a lot of times the meal tastes better when you have good company. You hear what I'm saying? It has to do with the company, and it has to do with where you're eating it. That's why every time you go to Florida, everything tastes better, everything looks better, everything's browner. It's just all good. And I always tell my kids, that's why every time you go to a ball game, the hot dogs are the best. They're cold, they're clammy.
I want to invite you to come to a concert with me.
I love it.
And this just feels right to me. Since we were talking about Oak Mountain Amphitheater, there's the new Coca-Cola outdoor amphitheater. I have not been to a show there.
I've been there. I've been to a couple of shows there. I saw Def Leppard there, and that was another show. It was one of the best shows I've ever seen.
We've got a show that we are promoting on WDJC that's coming in September. So the weather, I know, is going to feel nice. I know there's lots of shows in August that I'm too old to be out in the heat and sweat.
Yeah, I hear you.
So Need to Breathe is one of the best live bands I have ever seen, no matter what format, and the fact that they are amazing live, one of my top performances that I've ever seen. I've seen them at Boutwell. I've seen them at the Alabama Theater. I've seen them at the Tuscaloosa Amphitheater. I have seen them at, oh goodness, Workplay.
You love this band.
I have seen them everywhere. The Legacy Arena, and they're going to be coming to the Coca-Cola Amphitheater, and I want you, Tony, to be my guest.
I would love that. You just tell me, and I'm there. Pencil me in, put an ink on it. I'd love that. That'd be great. I would love it. And it's called Need to Breathe, so I'm going to have to. I think I've actually heard of this band.
They're amazing. They're friends with Switchfoot. They patterned themselves as not a Christian band, but a band of Christians. Mm-hmm. And they have done secular crossover songs. They've been, they've done massive tours, and they've got some really great hearts. Really, the lead vocalist is Bear Reinhardt, and he's got one of the coolest vocals that you've ever heard. And they just are a real rock band from North Carolina, or maybe South Carolina, but they've got connections to the Birmingham area. Love Birmingham, and it's one of those shows that I think that you would really enjoy and kind of like relive some of the outdoor shows that are no longer available at Oak Mountain Amphitheater.
I would love to, and I'd be honored to go with you. That'd be great. Santo has never seen a classic rock concert. He turns 22 this year. His last day of school at Clemson is this Friday. He's coming home for the summer. I can't wait to hang out with him. We're going to have a blast. But he wanted to go. I've always talked about AC/DC, and so I got a pair of tickets for the Nashville show. This was 6-7 months ago. We're on the way to Nashville, and we get about half an hour outside Nashville, and they called the concert because of severe weather tonight. And I was And I was like, yeah. So we turn around, and they were rescheduling the show for the following night. Of course, my son's like, well, we'll just spend the night. And I said, honey, I can't put $500 or $600 into another night. I said, I can't. I've already spent enough on the tickets, and I said, I just can't do it. So in lieu of that, I get a phone call from Fox 6 as they called me the concert man. Dubberly came on and he goes, of all the people I know in my life, I can bet you've probably seen more concerts than anyone else in Birmingham, period. You've seen thousands of concerts. You've probably brought most of them on stage. He said, so I want to give you a pass. I want you to go down to the Coca-Cola Amphitheater. They're having a thing for the media today. And I want you to walk throughout the place and give us an update on it, and we'll do a live shot from down there. And I said, great. So I get down there, and I saw Jay Wilson and Gary Weinberger and all those guys, a cast of characters. And Jay pulls me aside. Jay is one of the top dogs there at Live Nation. He goes, are you doing this Fox 6 thing? And I said, yeah. And he goes, what are you going to say? I said, I don't know, Jay. I'll say whatever. He goes, what are you going to talk about? What are you going to say about us? I said, Jay, and if you know Jay, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I was like, dude, chill out. I said, I'll take care of you. He goes, okay, well, if you need anything, now you let me know if you need anything. And I said, well, I was supposed to take my boy to see AC/DC a couple nights ago, and got canceled, and I'm not going to be able to take him back to the other show. I said, so, man, if you want to give me some prime seats for Def Leppard, that would be fantastic. And he put me on the 10th row right by the sound booth. Anyone in radio knows if you're sitting near the sound booth, you got the best seat in the house because that's where all the sound comes. And it was really hot, but I mean, it was just, they played every hit that they ever played, and they sounded just like they did in the 80s and 90s. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Hey, we only got 12 minutes left. I got a couple more questions I want to ask you. And thanks for coming on. You're welcome to come on the show anytime. And I would love to come over to DJC and listen to some music, and I will pick up the latest from Need to Breathe so I can be ready. I can sing along with the notes and stuff in September. Are you surprised? Someone had said when they heard I was going to do this, first of all, they cracked a joke because I was going to get a billboard that said, from strip clubs to Bible study, Tony Curry is back. But I didn't think Brett would let me do that. But are you surprised, first of all, that there isn't more Christian radio in this town? Because this is you talk about the Bible Belt, we're the buckle of it, man. I mean, there are outside pharmaceutical places, CVS's and Rite Aids, there are more churches in this town than I've ever seen in my life, and it's good. I love it. I mean, take the ground. It's wonderful. Are you surprised that there's not more competition for you? And I'm glad there's not, by the way.
There's plenty of competition, believe it or not.
Is there? I don't know of anyone else.
There's not another live studio with live hosts in the city of Birmingham that's in Christian music. There are signals for K-Love. There's a signal for Way FM. There's a signal for Air One. There's all of these other networks that are being piped into Birmingham without any local presence.
Yeah, I don't know any of those.
But the fact that that there's not another studio is a surprise to me. There years ago, Way FM was talking to me and my afternoon partner about taking a job in Huntsville and doing mornings in Huntsville, and they had a 5-year plan that within 5 years they were going to put a studio in Birmingham and move us back to Birmingham and take over the city and be competition. And at one point, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And then at one point I was gone. I left rooming with you, and there was a period of like 3 years that I'd moved to Texas for 18 months, and then I moved to Georgia for 18 months before I came back with your help. But I missed the era of reality radio, which was a competing Christian radio station, and the studio was at, I believe, a mall, is what I heard. And
that's funny.
But this is the station that was the competition. Mr. Crawford bought it, 101.1. It was called Reality Radio. Mm-hmm. So I think no one else wanted to come to town because they were afraid that they would get crushed and then would wind up. He would wind up buying them the station away from them.
That's pretty wild. Are you surprised by? And I know that you don't do numbers. I've been up and down that hill several times.
Sure.
And I get it. It's super expensive. By the way, people. You were mentioning earlier in the show that you went from like a 7.1 to a 19.7, whatever. That is a percentage of the marketplace that's actually listening. And if you can pull anything above a 10, you're doing something really, really special. Anything above a 20 is like outrageous.
Yeah, unheard of. The 20s were back in the day when there were only like three radio stations.
Yeah, but I mean, we were, I think classic rock, we were pulling 12s, 13s. They were at the time, I think there were 10 different owners in town. So we were doing something right for sure. But I know whenever there's tragedy, people want to find Jesus.
Right.
I wish more people would find Jesus before the tragedy because it makes those tragedies just a little easier to go through. But after 9/11, after we just had the 15th anniversary of the April 27th tornado outbreak, people will find, even Richard Scrushy found God in prison.
Wow.
Are you surprised? And you used to get numbers, but you guys, we always knew, we always knew in Radioland, we were like, dang it, we got another tragedy. That means DJC is going to go through the roof because everyone's going to start listening to Christian radio. Everyone's going to Christian radio because they listen to Christian radio. It's as good as going to church and talking to God on speakerphone or something, I thought. And so whenever something bad happened, man, I knew that DJC was going to go through the roof. Did you ever think that was kind of funny or a little backwards?
It was a really big responsibility actually to carry, because anytime that there was a tragedy and you knew that more people were listening than normal, and you felt the responsibility of you need to give them a safe place to come, give them hope in Jesus, and minister to them, but not talk down to them or preach to them, but just be there and be a comfort. And so I was on the air during the April 27th tornadoes at WDJC. I remember Wayne Wallace, who has passed away. He was on the first on-air person in 1968, August of 68, when the station was at the Tutwiler. I worked with him, and I was working with Steve West. One was on 101, another one was on 850, and I was on WDJC and was looking at the tornadoes coming toward Tuscaloosa. Normally, I would wait until something hit Tuscaloosa and then start alerting people in the Birmingham area that something was on its way. And I saw this monster, and I'm like, there's people that listen in Tuscaloosa. You got to take cover now.
Yeah.
And I remember it was supposed to be coming by the station at 7 minutes after 6 p.m. I was doing an afternoon drive. could see debris falling into the parking lot out the windows. I saw a 4x8 piece of plywood spinning like a frisbee over one of the trees across the street, and we just made the call. Let's hit the legal ID. We're going to go down the stairwell and wait 10 minutes, and then came out, looked in the parking lot, and saw this 1.5 mile tornado moving north of the city. It was just nothing that like I've ever witnessed in my life, but just
I remember
to be
Paul,
a calm voice for people to listen to, and then help with the community and do diaper drives and toy drives and things.
Yeah, that was so cool. And we talked about this on the show last night, Michael Coleman and myself, about it's sad that it takes a tragedy to bring us together. It really does. I mean, I remember people talking about, we did something at the Galleria, I think for like 3 or 4 days, where we were raising money for the New York FD and police departments. We raised like $400,000, something like that. And there were people bringing like collectibles, like anything they could sell. Like, I don't have any money, but if you could take this and get some money for it. Someone brought a Mickey Mantle baseball. I'll never forget it. They brought a Mickey Mantle baseball up, and he's like, I don't have any money, but I got this old Mickey Mantle baseball. And of course, I collect autographs. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $300 for it right now, and I'll put the money right in the coffers. And he said, that's great. And I still have it. But it's super cool that we come together and look after each other. And it doesn't matter whether you're Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter whether you're gay or straight, doesn't matter whether it's just, it's like we're just human beings helping human beings. And that's a beautiful thing. All right, one final question for Justin Brown. I'll let you go. You ready?
I'm ready.
Do you still paint?
Oh, goodness. It has been a few years, but I did paint. I have 2 art degrees. And during COVID, it was really kind of fun, and we talk about this. My daughter's also the same age as your daughter. She's going to be 14 in June.
Watch out for
so
boyfriends.
We need prayers for both of us being dads of teenage girls.
Your girl's going to be 14?
Yeah.
Jeez, that's crazy.
And yours is 14, right?
Yeah, she turned 14 on the 12th.
So we go pull up Bob Ross and go to Hobby Lobby and buy the 5 colors that Bob Ross uses, or the equivalent now that they have different names. And so we pull up this picture that he's doing, and I'll pause it because I know the techniques and I know how to do the stuff, and my daughter hadn't really never painted that much in the past. And so we still have the 2 paintings hanging up in our dining room, one on either side of a mirror. That's at the dining room table, hers and mine, and that was from 2022. So that was the last time that I painted.
Well, we were living together, and my birthday was coming up, and you asked me what I wanted for my birthday. I said I want a painting, and and a month went by, and you're like, "What do you want for your birthday?" I said, "I want one of your paintings. I want you to paint." And you're like, "What would you want me to paint?" I said, "I don't know. Whatever comes to you, arty-farty people. I don't know what you do. I just whatever." And then it was like a week before my birthday, and I said, "How long does it take you to paint a picture?" And you said, "Well, sometimes I put like 3 years into one. It just kind of depends. I'll do it, and I'll stop, and I'll do it, and I'll stop." And you were telling me, I don't know if I've ever just sat down and painted an entire picture, like in one drawing. I don't think I've ever done it. And I said, "Well, my birthday's next Sunday." And you were like, "Yeah." And I said, I asked you for a painting for my birthday. And you were like, "Tony, let me tell you a little something about art.
You can't force it.
It's called inspiration. You must be inspired to paint something." You're like, "I don't get up in the middle of the night and a paintbrush comes to my hand and I sleep paint. I don't."
So what did I paint for you for your birthday, Tony?
Nothing. You actually gave me nothing. I think we ended up going to some adult club or something. We had a good time. I do remember it was a great birthday. It was a wonderful time. But and on top of that, if and I know this will never happen because you're happily married and you have a baby girl, it's wonderful. But if you ever get to Justin Brown alone for a night near a fireplace, sit in the back because the man loves to burn wood. That's all I'm saying. You would have that, man. I remember coming back on Saturday afternoons after work, and it would be a furnace. I thought it was a Sloss Fright furnace, man. It was so hot in our apartment. I was like, "What?" And I have the doors open, and he's throwing logs in the fire, man. Hey, brother, I love you, man. Thank you so much for coming
too,
on the
buddy.
show. Come back anytime, man, and I'll come visit you soon. And I appreciate everything you do for you. God's good, man. He's good.
Thanks for letting me be a part of the show, Tony.
Thank you, my brother. I love you.
Love you too, man.
All right, man. Bye-bye.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.